going to start with is we're going to introduce everybody, and I want you to first give a little introduction and tell us if you had a session specifically, mention what session you had, and then what things you work on here at Agora. So if there's questions in the chat, like they know who to direct it to, and also gives them some ideas for questions if they don't have any. And if you're an audience member, this is when you start piling in the questions. If you do a good job, then I won't be able to ask any of my own questions. So let's get started. I'll go first. Just because I'm first on the screen, I'm going to go who I see first in that way. So I'm Tadas. I'm a developer advocate here at Agora. I work specifically with Flutter. I'm also a Flutter GDE. So I've been working with Flutter for probably I think getting close to 4 years now. I also do some YouTube content and some other things online. And I didn't have any sessions this time, but I'm moderating this, so I'll count that. Ekaansh, can you go next?
Yep. Thanks, Tadas. I hope you can hear me all right. I'm Ekaansh. I'm also a developer advocate on the Agora team. I speak JavaScript, so I'm on the anti-Tadas Flutter gang using React Native for all things. I also maintain the React Native UIKits. That's pretty much it. I had a session about the 4.0 SDK release that Agora did a while back. So we shared all the cool things that we've been building behind the scenes and how you can use these new features in your applications. That's all from me.
You're next.
All right, just want to make sure we have the same order. So I'm Dennis, also a developer advocate here, working on the web SDK. And I work a lot with, I guess, everybody on the team here in different aspects, but I have the best job in the world because I get to be the test bunny for a lot of our stuff and build awesome hero projects and show people how to use our SDK, whether that's video, real-time chat, signaling. I get to figure all this stuff out and present it also like Tadas on my YouTube channel, on Agora's YouTube channel, just putting out content, trying to do my best to teach the awesome products that we have.
Brad.
Hey everybody, Brad Mortensen here. I am a contender for best job in the world here at Agora, doing technology partnerships. I'm an honorary DevRel member and I'm happy to be a part of this AMA. I focus specifically on Agora's extensions marketplace and of course technology partnerships. I had a session 15, 20 minutes ago about Agora's extensions marketplace. I'm really excited about it and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hey everyone, this is Meher. I'm also a part of the developer advocate team over here at Agora. I mostly work with two technical stacks, that is Flutter and Android, and I manage the Flutter and Android UI kits over here. And along with that, I produce some written content, video content at the same time. Yeah, and I had a session about what's new with the 4.0 SDK along with Ekaansh, where we discussed some new advanced things that the 4.0 SDK has released.
Next.
By process of elimination, I guess it's me now. I'm also, of course, on the developer relations team. I focus mostly on iOS, which kind of bleeds into macOS in any case. Working on a lot of our low-code solution things with Mihir and Ekaansh in here now. Those guys are rock stars. Feel free to follow those for all of us on Twitter and all that stuff. We work with low-code things as well as trying to improve upon our SDK offerings by producing things more in the direction that the development is going, right? So if some changes happen with React Native, some changes happen with Flutter, iOS, we want to make sure that those developers who are like, hey, I want to do this with like Swift UI or Jetpack Compose, for example, we're making sure that they're able to do that and show them how to. And we just want to make sure that we are following all those modern patterns with development. So yeah, and I won't stop banging on about it to everyone. And they'll probably get sick of it eventually, but yeah, there we go.
And we're going to have one more person joining us. I'll introduce them whenever they get here. They had a session right before this. So his name's Rick. He does more of the metaverse, VR, AR related stuff. So if you have questions for that, we'll be guiding them whenever Rick gets in. But all right, I wanted to start off first, I think, with Max. So I know you like refer around about iOS, but I know that since you've been working with UIKits, you've been working with all of the UIKits, not just iOS, and I feel like I've seen you getting like coding a little bit more even Flutter related. Siri. I've seen you coding around with Flutter, I think a little bit, and even Android and some other devices, some other languages and frameworks. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts about those other frameworks and languages?
There's other frameworks and languages. I'm very opinionated when it comes to this, right? If someone wants to use React Native or Flutter, they can go for it. I prefer native things. Not because I think they're better, but like maybe because they are better. But there you go. That I just prefer like the native things because whenever you're working with Flutter or React Native, at the end of the day, it is built on top of that native layer, and that's just how I use things. And I don't know. Whenever I see someone who doesn't have an iPhone, I'm like, I don't understand this. So it's not really interesting for me. But they're very important things, especially for a company who wants to launch on, when you get like Flutter, for example, you launch one app, you've got web, runs in anything then. It also runs, you can get something that same bit of code runs on Mac OS, Windows, right? Right, is that right? Yeah, okay. But also like, yeah, Android device, Mac OS, Windows, iOS, yeah, you name it. And that's kind of what our RTC engine is doing as well. That will run in pretty much anything. Something I say sometimes is if you plug in a webcam to a washing machine, you can probably get our RTC SDK running, at least the C++ layer of it, maybe not the iOS layer, but yeah, cross-platform is definitely extremely important.
So how do you justify writing multiple applications when you're working with just iOS? Like, why would you not use a cross-platform when it's close enough?
Why do I justify writing iOS, or why do I justify doing a few other
Something
things?
so native, just where you just write one little you only get one little application instead of like 5.
I just prefer it. I don't know. I just like it. I like the ecosystem. Like I like the language Swift. And then all the different languages. When you use enough languages, you realize they're just tools to get something done. And I find that Swift has a lot of the tools that I like. Flutter has a lot of those tools. Like obviously JavaScript has every tool somewhere in there. But yeah, I don't know. They're all unique. I see a lot of the developers we have this Slack channel. A lot of the developers in there. One guy was raving about the Mac OS SDK. He's like, "What the hell? This is so good! It just works straight out of the box, and it's probably one that a lot less people use than iOS or Mac or web." So, don't know if that answers
I
your
was just
question.
messing around. He didn't expect that as such a serious answer, but I mean, what Max is saying is the truth. Like you can use whatever technology gets the job done for whatever you need, and there's definitely like use cases to use whatever suits the solution the best. So Rick joined us, and Rick, I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself a little bit. Maybe talk about what presentation you gave and what you work on here at Agora.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Rick. I'm the Senior Developer Evangelist at Agora. My specialty is in gaming, and I'm leading the effort on Unity and SDK development. I just gave a presentation with Metaverse building blocks, and I went through some example on screen sharing and spatial audio, especially those are two hot features that people want in Metaverse. Yeah, so I'm currently working on different projects. For example, the WebGL project that people hope to extend the application from native platform to the web using Unity. Yeah, I'm open to answer any questions here, and hope you guys enjoyed the day so far.
So your mic is a little low. Is there? Can you make sure you're using the right one and everything for that? But we can hear you for the most part. Just a little quieter.
Okay.
So I wanted to actually ask you another, or we actually got our first question in the chat. So I'll go with that one just to not hog this time. They're saying, I've been trying to look for a low latency VR 360 streaming support. What's your take on this? Any roadmap plans specifically considering the hype around Metaverse? So Rick, this is definitely directed to you.
Yes. So basically, most VR headsets, if is Android based, our Unity SDK is already supporting that. For example, we already supported HTC Vive and Oculus. And of course, there are more products coming into the stream like Pico 4 that we haven't really tested it on, but we'll get it as soon as we get the device on hand, we will start testing it and make sure the SDK works on that device also.
All right.
Yep.
Hopefully that answered that. It was similar to my question. Mihir, I wanted to go to you now. So you had a presentation about the new things in 4.0 and basically all the updates we got in Agora 4.0 SDK. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think will have the biggest impact for people that are switching from 3.0 to 4.0?
The biggest thing that I believe that people will see while migrating to 4.0 SDK would be the feature to stream the video, like the video quality that you will be able to process now. So with the 4.0 SDK, you get the option to stream 4K video at 60 FPS. And I think that's one of the biggest thing in the RTE space right now. So processing that kind of video without any packet loss or jitter brings a huge use case for any RTE ecosystem out there. So if you are building any RTE application, I think you can try and check out this particular feature. Other than that, obviously we have some common features like the audio quality, which has been improved, the extensions that are now being able to integrate to the SDK itself. So you can easily add some core features with few lines of code, and that actually makes building RTE application quite simple.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen is all the updates here were big like back end updates. So they're supporting us to like stream better, stream faster, and that is what enabled the 4K video streams and everything like that. So I agree. That seems to be like one of the biggest things. But Brad, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the biggest update with this 4.0?
I'm a little opinionated on this one. Oh, is it still?
You're good now.
Okay, very good. The extensions marketplace, right? This is something that's incredibly powerful. Like I've always equated Agora 4.0 to be more like the Legos that I still enjoy playing with, right? One of the core aspects of the Legos that you can add into an Agora project is items from Agora's extensions marketplace, right? So whether it's changing your voice, changing your appearance, having content moderation, traditionally things that Agora hasn't done or is not doing yet, or maybe does in a different way, are now available through third-party partners directly in the marketplace. From a developer standpoint, you could quickly and easily add that functionality directly into your Agora 4.0 project. This is new, and we have a lot of places to go with this, and we've been a lot of places already, and we're really looking forward to seeing how people use this. But in my humble opinion, this is one of the bigger, more powerful aspects of the Agora 4.0 update.
It seems like it's kind of like adding an app store to the iPhone. Like it opens up so many more possibilities. Maybe on a little it's more niche and with video and audio stuff. But hopefully as we add in other products like chat and all that stuff, it'll have more and more use cases. And to go along with that, I was wondering what's your favorite extension use case? Not specific company, but like what do you think will have the biggest? I guess two separate questions. One, what's your favorite extension feature, and one, what do you think is going to be used the most and have the biggest impact for people?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks, Tadas. It's interesting, right? Because I think the market and the customers will define what extensions will have priority. I'm not allowed to have favorite, right? But the functionality that I enjoy is audio modification extensions, right? Extensions that are either paying attention to what's going on or what people are saying, or extensions that can change your voice, right? I have too much fun working with companies like VoiceMod, for instance, and being able to completely change how I sound in an instant. I'm a big fan of just simply making people smile in a conversation, and being able to do that, being able to bring joy to sometimes monotony, right? When in a work environment. And I think with the way the world is and the way the world is going, it's okay to have fun, right? So there's very serious extensions that we have, but the use cases that I enjoy the most is the ability to bring a little bit of light to a conversation or interact in a new way that may just not be possible in an in-person environment. Now, Tadas, you'll have to help me with the second question. I got a little too excited with changing my voice there.
I was going to say, what do you think the highest impact ones would be?
Yeah. Great question. I believe the highest impact ones are ones that keep people safe, right? In understanding what's happening in a virtual environment. Here at Agora, we have an inside look of what people are doing with our product, right? And I see a lot of rise in ed tech solutions. I see, of course, a rise in the social space. You can do a quick Google search and see some bad stuff that has happened in the metaverse already, right? And I think extensions that help keep people safe of any age, of any bit of diversity that they may have, I think will help us go in the right direction. There's a lot of responsibility on the developer to do things in an ethical way, especially with computer vision, right? But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing, especially in the ed tech space, I have a lot of background there, of how people stay safe and how developers are keeping people safe in new virtual environments.
I like it. That's good.
Could I jump in here real quick about one of the extensions? I gave a talk this week about the sonic identity, which is probably a little bit related to that. Someone might not want people to know much about them, and then they can change their voice so that they can still communicate, they can still interact fully, but not really give away who they are, for example.
The one that go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to say anonymity can be very important. You think in a space where you're having a health conversation with your doctor, or maybe a therapy session, and you want them to pay attention to what you're saying as opposed to what you sound like, right? I mean, it's a really interesting use case that you can implement with having a sonic identity that allows people to focus on the content as opposed to maybe what you sound like.
And I remember yesterday I watched the Meta announcements of the new stuff they released, and they showed like video calls with their avatars. So pair that together with an avatar video call, and you got an anonymous video calls. So that is pretty cool. One of my favorite use cases that I think is probably a combination of extensions and kind of what we hear. So with the 4K is I feel like there's going to be some cool like computer vision related things, like some maybe have you seen those the robots, the dog robot from Boston Dynamics or something? Like I can imagine having a 4K video stream that's like very high quality, where you can like read what like do some computer vision on it, so you could read what's going on, and potentially I don't know what kind of creative stuff people will think of, but that
take over the world.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. People think content moderation. They think, is there nudity? Is there not nudity? Right. But the company that we work with for content moderation truly is AI computer vision, a company called Hive. They understand context, right? So if you use the Boston Dynamics robot dog example, right, it's important for that dog to understand the world around them, right? They need to understand the difference between maybe an SUV, a truck, and a car, right? Hive has the ability to understand what that is and in what context that is. Are they in an off-road environment? Are they on the highway? Are they in a cityscape or a rural area? Right? I mean, it's not just, is there nudity? Is there not? Right? We have the full ability to understand the context of whatever the camera may be seeing. It's a really powerful tool.
Yeah. I agree. All right, Ekaansh, I got you next. So I know you've worked with UIKits for React Native. You worked with App Builder. It's also built, I think, on React Native.
Yes.
And my question to you is, uh, actually before that, so I know even with like App Builder, you can design your website, then you can pull that code in and you can add on to it, just like you did in your session where you added the fireworks and everything like that. So UIKit makes it easy to start that video call, and then you can also add stuff onto it. So I wanted to ask you, what are the use cases, and who would you recommend to use which product? App Builder versus UIKit, and then maybe even going as far as SDK, but I think that one's a little bit more obvious where you just want full control, right?
That's a very good question that I have to like think about. But I think from positioning perspective, like we've always said that the UI kits are something that if you want to go the low code route, that's where you start. If you don't want to write code, that's where App Builder really started. But we've been getting closer and closer to blurring the line between no code and low code. I think it really comes down to the features that you want. For example, the App Builder has things like a complete backend integrated to the application, so you can do advanced host controls, you can do cloud recording, you have a full chat embedded in your application. On the other hand, with the UI kits, if you're opinionated like Max and you want to write Swift, you can use the iOS UI kit. But with App Builder, you're sort of stuck with React Native. So that might be great depending on who you are. I love React Native, and Max might not enjoy that as much. So it really depends on features and your choice of platform. The App Builder still works on web, it works on mobile, it works on desktop. So you get all of those cool things from like a single code base. So you get that power that you talked about of having to write JavaScript once and it runs everywhere. Same with Flutter. But it really depends on like what sort of features you want. Maybe you don't want to host your own backend, in which case the UI kits make more sense. So there's a few questions that you need to ask yourself, and then based on those answers, you'll be directed to either like side.
Gotcha. And to go along with that, you might not know the answer to this either, but do you know of what are there's 4 templates right now. There's, I think, audio calling, audio like live broadcast, video calling, and video live streaming or live broadcast. I forget the naming, but do you know what are the next couple templates coming up and what's in the future of App Builder?
I can't really spoil what's coming in the future, but I can tell you that we released the voice chat and the audio live conferencing templates yesterday. So those are brand new, and you can do like audio only experiences now. So that's something we've got a lot of requests from people that I don't want to do video. Like I just want people to be able to talk on, like a service that I've built. So we're looking forward to get feedback on how those roll out. And those are brand new. So we'll see what comes next.
Awesome. Dennis, you got to pay attention to me now. So I know you worked he worked on the documentation, and like the new docs are obviously a lot better than our previous documentation. In my opinion, easier to like find and read stuff. What do you think is going to have the biggest impact for developers as they start using this new documentation?
Well, we're still working on those, but getting started, that's a big one. We're using a really cool feature called Scrolly Code, which essentially, rather than giving you code bits as you're starting and having to read and scroll through the page, you're able to actually see steps. And as you scroll, the code is interactive in that process. So that was one of our biggest things, was how do we decrease the getting started time, that first aha moment? And we were able to get that within about, I think it was a 2-minute time span that we're kind of focusing on. And I even live demoed it at one point, where essentially you just get to go to the docs and scroll through, copy to clipboard, and you have your template with an npm install and some pasting of that code. So very interactive, easy to get started, and also the ability to see how that code is even written. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll definitely recommend checking out our docs and go into one of those quick start guides and scrolling through it. One of the coolest features I've seen, and I wish I had that when I was getting started earlier in my developer career, because a lot of times you'll see a page or some source code that has over, let's say, 300 lines of code, and you have to figure out what was added when in that process and really dissect it, where here you're able to see it develop through there. Search, something that we're working on. We're definitely hoping to improve that. something where we're using Algolia in that process that's really helping us with a tagging system and able to get you not just into the pages, but into the sections of what you're searching if you're looking for a specific function and so on. So a lot of work to be done still. We've done great with that release. That's all out there. That's exciting stuff, but we'll continue to improve that.
Yeah, I was going to say I like the search a lot just to be, because I think you can like control, I don't know if Algolia has that built in, but I know I've seen other documentation where you can control K and quickly find other stuff. I'm assuming we're going to.
That's Algolia, yeah.
It is Algolia. So yeah, I think that's a huge improvement. It's going to make things a lot easier. And I had another question for you that's more general. So
sure.
You're a YouTuber, you do some live streams. And I was curious, like, what are your thoughts about live versus just like regular content? And I know Agora is like big on like helping out live stuff, and I'm just curious, like, what do you think has the bigger impact, and what do you use each different type of content for?
Sure. So live content, first of all, is something that I'm a big fan of. I like the pre-recorded content, but that's not really who I am. I love to just show my personality and let the mistakes be there, not edit anything out. I do this with podcasting when I interview guests. I love those long pauses where somebody has to think about it, where we try to hash something out rather than cutting that out. And at first I thought viewers wouldn't like that, but they tend to love it. With the hackathons too, we have the judging session all live rather than just making an announcement. Agora's done amazing in the developer community in participating in that. And with that, I'm able to actually engage with people and get, engagement driven content as opposed to putting something out and then getting feedback. So just to give everyone some more content or context into what I do here, I do a lot of tutorial videos for Agora, but also in my own on my own channel, and I'm teaching a lot. So again, that response usually comes days or weeks later because it takes someone some time to maybe watch my hour or 18-hour video, because I think that's the longest video I have on the channel. And then I get feedback later, and then I maybe adjust what I'm producing time after in the next video when I'm actually able to take that feedback and process it. Well, with live coding, which is something I love to do, I'm able to get feedback right away and see if the audience is actually comprehending what I'm saying. I'm able to see the questions and respond directly, whereas in a tutorial, I'm in my own room, I put something out, and then maybe I miss something completely. So I'm able to get that engagement and change my content based on what somebody asked. And in many cases, it's really interesting. I have people that are much smarter than me in my streams that watch my stuff, and I'm really curious on why they watch it, but I get to actually, while I'm teaching, learn something and then try a new method, because I maybe will do something one way, and then someone in the comments will give me some kind of response, and I'll check it out, maybe even do a quick Google search, test it out. And my stream went from what I planned to everything I planned and better, because I was able to get insight from hundreds of people live and able to get that interaction. So I absolutely love it, and I love letting that engagement drive that content. And there was engagement-driven content. That was actually Max's term. We were talking about this earlier, and he said it, and I said, that's perfect for live streaming. That's such a good term I'm going to coin here.
Nice. While you were talking, this made me think of something. Brad, it might be directed to you, but it's about extensions or kind of, I guess, anything that Agora does. So me and Dennis have noticed that, like, coding live streams, I mean, he's good at them, but a lot of them are I guess less popular, specifically on like Twitch and on there than like other ones, because they're probably just less entertaining. I think Dennis has a good way of doing it, but I was curious, maybe you had any cool ideas for what kind of extensions, or maybe what kind of Agora updates could improve the fun factor of coding live streams. And it's a tough question, so I could go to Rick, give you a moment if you need it, but I thought I'd bring it up because I was curious.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Brad, actually, if you need a second, because I had an idea myself that I've seen that would totally help us out, and that maybe would be some more live reaction in that process, because not everyone is confident to type out a question or to say something. So a live reaction, kind of like what we're doing here, would really enhance that process. I don't know if that would be done through an extension or maybe Agora chat, but that's the first thing that came to mind. Sorry, Brad, totally interrupted your question.
No, that's perfect, Dennis. And it's good to springboard off of that. I think there's a lot that we don't need to overcomplicate, right? Simple things like polls, simple things like anonymous surveys that can be blasted out, right? Whether people engage with them or not, right? I mean, it'll be up to the level of questions and the polling. And what I'd also like to see too is mini games, right, injected into streams to provide some level of competition, right? Whether it's trivia at the end of a session, or Dennis teaches somebody and to engage with the audience more to see what they learned. Not only would that be fun for the audience, right? It'd be cool for you, Dennis, because then you could see, like, if somebody got it wrong, maybe there's something that you could explain a little bit different next time. So that's what I'd like to see. That's where I'd like to see things going. But to Dennis's point, not everybody wants to come on screen. Not everybody wants to talk. So having a different way to provide and drive interaction that gets insight to guys like Dennis, but then gets the audience talking, right, without talking, I think will be kind of the future of engagement.
I agree. I like those. Next, I got some questions for Rick. So my first question is: did you by any chance watch the Oculus and the Meta event yesterday, or maybe have news about the new VR headset that they released? Were you part of that?
No, unfortunately, I missed that part. Yeah, but I think every year there are new headsets coming out, and the technology gets more fascinating. You have better resolution, and you have better computing power. We kind of look back to the earlier question that Shaki just asked about streaming 360 streaming support. In that use case, actually it requires more power, the hardware power, and network bandwidth capability on the headset itself. I think when we see more and more these new headsets coming out, we will get closer to like embrace a better user experience, like 360-degree with 4K streaming. That will definitely come together.
I watched it and it was pretty cool. Like they made it, I guess, a lot faster and just better. It was the pro version, and it made me think about like all the new types of technology that this could enable in the future. And then the last question I got for Rick too. I think you might have talked about this in your presentation, but I had to leave early in order to join this. You mentioned blockchain and like Web3 and other stuff. And I was wondering, how does that tie into what Agora does in real time? And do those two, is it just, because I think for me, the term metaverse is like very clearly Agora related. I guess you need real time interactions and everything. But how does the blockchain tie into all of that?
Not directly, because but we are also like part of the building blocks of the metaverse. Agora emphasizes on user interaction, user experience through like we want to deal with humans, but blockchain provides like decentralized technology that provides like trackable smart contracts and the better privacy controlling and those kind of stuff you don't see in the centralized Web 2.0 technology. So we kind of not mixed together, but we all together to support the modern metaverse building.
That makes sense. So it's more just it's all part of that metaverse ecosystem and kind of the trend where things are going. All right. I think, do any of you have any questions for anybody else on the team? Or if there's any last minute questions in the chat, make sure to send them out right now so we can cover them.
So Tadas, I wanted to ask you a question. You do some streaming on YouTube. You've actually streamed on my channel and on Twitch. I was curious on what those platforms give you that change maybe your or where you're streaming. So for example, you're streaming on Twitch. Why there instead of YouTube? What's that platform giving you that might maybe push you in one direction? Is it different types of engagement? Is it the recommendation feed? Maybe the audience there.
So I mean, the answer is pretty simple. It's just less pressure. I think like Twitch, the streams go away after like a week or two, so nobody's gonna see them automatically on YouTube. But I just kind of have it set up where I want it to be like quality stuff whenever something is released there. If it is a live stream, then it's usually like planned out. And I got a little itinerary here of what exactly I want to cover and everything like that. On Twitch, like you can just hop on and work on a bug that you don't solve for 2 hours, and then it's just a mess.
So as far as engagement then on Twitch, it seems like it does have more engagement in the chat. I have noticed that. Why do you think that is? What are they doing? Because from what I've seen, the chat is fairly similar to YouTube. You post your message and that's about it. It doesn't seem like there's much more to it. What do you think is causing that engagement, and what are they doing right with that?
So I think it's not just like the chat engagement. It's just, I think people like full-time streamers make more on Twitch as well, through like bits or whatever. So people, I guess it is engagement, but like in different types, like through subscriptions, all that stuff, people are more willing to like be part of that live streaming community. And I think it's just the platform was built for that. And like from what I've learned, from what I've listened to other people say, it's when people go to Twitch, they're going for a live stream. When people go to YouTube, they're going for a video, and live stream is a secondary thing that they're not going there specifically for this thing. When it's Twitch, they're going there to like engage with a live person that's live. So I think
so user intent. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it seems like YouTube's working on kind of blurring those lines, like making it known as like, yeah, you could do both here. And I think it's leading that way just because that Twitch has made some decisions recently that haven't been favorable to some streamers. So it seems like some of them are coming over. But I think it's just intent.
I think that's the biggest one. But one quick thing I also want to point out is the way the chat scrolls on the two platforms is very different. On YouTube, it just scrolls, like it continuously goes on to like the latest message. So it's very hard to like track what people are talking about. That's just a decision of like how they implemented the UX. On Twitch, it loads in chunks. So you have like half a second where you see the chunk, and then it moves up, and you have another half a second or a second to read the next chunk. So it loads differently, which sort of makes it easier to read in like on one platform and not on the other. So that's like a slight difference I've noticed from like just a tech implementation.
I agree. Dennis, did you by any chance have any thoughts about that's other than intent?
I feel like I don't know if it's anything different, because the intent seems like the biggest thing. Ekaansh's point does make a lot of sense there. The only thing that I think is different, for example, on Twitch, I may have one size of an audience that's, let's say, 100 times bigger than what I have on Twitch. So on YouTube versus Twitch. If they're on Twitch, they're, like you said, they're looking to watch the live stream on YouTube. They're probably distracted with other videos. Whereas I feel like on Twitch, they're browsing between the streams, so they can leave, jump back in. But if I'm watching a live stream on YouTube, and then I go to watch a music video or some story that just broke, watching a news channel, I'm less likely to come back to the current stream. So I'm not in browsing mode in that sense. I'm letting YouTube just recommend the next thing. And those clips are typically a little bit shorter, maybe 5-15-minute clips. So I feel like that's definitely the biggest one. And you hit the nail on the head. I'm always looking for answers myself, because I'm trying to increase that engagement. I do wish YouTube was better at that. Personally, for me, if they added a feature where users can maybe click on each other's profiles and truly interact, where right now, if you go to someone's YouTube profile, most people don't even have it developed because they're there to watch videos. They're not producing any content. Maybe a way to link up some kind of social accounts or even create a social feature within it. That would be pretty neat, because I would be able to know my audience as opposed to just seeing them in the chat once and then I have no idea who they are after, because their name is usually, or their profile icon is like their first letter or something like that. Like if I was Dennis without a profile picture, you would just see like a D there and that's it. So they definitely lack there. Twitch, I feel like you're able to actually go to someone's profile and I feel like you're able to interact with them. Or I don't know how that goes with the audience. I know you can find maybe a streamer's profile. I don't know exactly how that works, but you're able to connect after the fact.
Yeah, I agree. And
in things that we want YouTube to build is also better moderation. I think that also influences streamers like not engaging with the YouTube chat, because it's just filled with bots a lot of the times. That's another one where something like an extension could help them.
Yes, they've done that where you can do slow mode. The moderation isn't the best. I do love that I can add people as moderators, but I've been in chats before and I'm coding and I'm watching the chat. And I'm like, oh boy, that shouldn't be there. And this is where I'll go to Brad and say, what extension can you give me that can read the messages? Because I've blocked channels and I swear it just comes back with a channel with a similar name. Like, give me something in that name that I can just say, no, don't allow it, or at least allow an approval process. That would be nice, and put that in a queue that just lets me quickly just hit a check mark that says, hey, this is on the edge of what should be moderated, but go ahead and approve it. I should have that flexibility rather than being distracted with a spam bot. Something like maybe throttling can also improve that maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they're working on that type of stuff. It seems like they've been making the moderation slightly better, but yeah.
There's one other type of streaming that we haven't mentioned that I think everyone here has jumped in on at some point. Tadas and Dennis run our Agora Devs Twitter Spaces, and we do that every couple of weeks. And it's a completely different thing. Obviously, there's no chat thing in there, but people jump on stage with us and ask their questions, and they're always about a different topic that these guys put together. And yeah, sometimes they're not even slightly about Agora. They're just about what we like to do.
Good plug, and that's why I say I have the best job in the world, because I don't just have to learn about Agora. I get to pick up on the latest JavaScript framework that, we all know there's no shortage of. And actually, the first video we put on was me and Tadas learning Astro together. Like, that's a new JavaScript framework. There's hype behind it. I get to build that, and our intention with that is actually very strategic, is to get involved with the community and show them that, hey, we're not just trying to push our product, we're actually trying to get involved. And I just had so much fun with that. And later on, we'll figure out how to integrate that with Agora. But yeah, I would definitely want to be able to know what people are working on and know the tech, as opposed to, just shouting from the rooftop.
Exactly. Like, if you talk to me about, what should I use for video streaming? Yeah, okay, I'm going to talk about Agora. If you talk to me about some random Swift iOS framework, I'm probably not even going to mention Agora. I'll just mention how much I like or don't like it, or how much I don't know about it. And then we just learn from everyone else in the community.
Yeah, there'll be a stream where, as a web developer, I will pick up Flutter and try to learn from Tadas live too. So we'll make a fool of me. We'll see how that goes. I feel like I'm a pretty quick learner, but that's the fun we like to have with it.
All right, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for the couple questions we had. Hopefully, I answered some of them through my own questions. And yeah, thanks again, and have a good rest of RT2022.
Take care.